Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and I can't start today's show without talking about the ISO 10002. You know, some people just love to complain, but companies have a responsibility to care. The International Organization for Standardization, ISO, has revised ISO 10002, the standard for complaint handling. This document enables organizations to foster a customer-focused environment open to feedback, heightening their customer satisfaction. You can get the ISO 10002 standard from the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, the U.S. member body of ISO. Visit ANSI.org/complain to learn more. That's ANSI.org/complain to learn more.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews. We're for over 11 years now. We've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with John O'Brien of Poolwerx. And founded in 1992, Poolwerx is one of the world's largest pool and hot tub spa maintenance providers. Their United States operations are headquartered in their 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art training facility and support center in Dallas, Texas. I'm going to talk to John about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you are listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews. We're for over 11 years now. We've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with John O'Brien of Poolwerx. And founded in 1992, Poolwerx is the world's largest pool and hot tub spa maintenance providers. Their United States operations are headquartered in their 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art training facility and support center in Dallas, Texas. Hi, John. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Marty. Thanks very much. A pleasure to be on.
This is my pleasure, John. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from today, John?
I'm actually calling from our U.S. headquarters here in downtown Dallas.
Oh, fantastic. You know, it's interesting. I don't know if you heard our tagline, John, but we always, we started this show 12 years ago, and we said, we're in Easton, Pennsylvania, and we said, the show is really, it's not just national, it's global. So we said all the way to Sydney, Australia, and I know you have some roots in Australia, don't you?
What is my North Texas accent a dead giveaway?
That's through research, by the way.
No, we founded the company in Brisbane, Australia, in 1992, and made it the biggest franchise in the pool industry in Australia and New Zealand, and brought it to the US about 3.5 years ago.
That's fantastic. And, you say 1992. It probably, it seems like yesterday to you, John, but, 1992, that's a long time ago. The company's been in business 25 years now, 25 plus, that's a milestone, isn't it? We haven't, as long as we've been doing the show, we haven't had a lot of franchises or, even organizations that have been in business that long. So, 25 years is a milestone, isn't it? Yeah, look, we've got our big celebration at our convention in Fiji in the South Pacific this year, a 25-year celebration. So, we're all looking forward to that. We've got over 500 people going, so it'll be a big party. It is a milestone. It's all been under one ownership too, the whole journey. So, there's a lot of franchise groups today where eventually the founder cashes in and moves on. But I've loved every minute of it. Sure, of course. Maybe you could walk us through the Poolwerx concept, John. And how did the brand get its start? I thought it was an interesting story. Yeah. Look, I'm a career franchise guy. Straight out of college, I went into international corporate and found myself, managing franchises for a global corporate, and got into my own business a little bit later on in my 30s. But I sold out of my various interests, and I travelled the world looking for a disorganised industry, because that's what franchising does. It organises disorganised industries, and they're hard to find. And I was in California, and I saw a beat-up old pool truck with no signs and a surfboard and a pool pole hanging out the back. And I thought, that truck leaking oil is going to expensive homes. So we put two and two together, and we found that there was virtually no franchising in the pool industry globally, and we got started. That's fantastic. What was it about franchising, John? Because you were you're young at the time. What was it that that you liked about franchising? Yeah, look, I finished law school, and law wasn't for me, and tried various things, as we all do out of college, and five-star hotels, corporate, etc. But when I got the tap on the shoulder at 25 in corporate to go and manage 440 or turn 440 vendors into franchisees, I immediately fell in love with the idea that two things. One, love the idea of finding best practice in small business and putting that into a system. And the second is, I know it sounds corny, but just helping people fulfill their dreams for them and their family. And that's what still gets me out of bed today. Sure, of course, absolutely. No, I think that's a great response. So, Poolwerx, really had tremendous success in Australia, and I think it was New Zealand as well, John. What made the organization decide to then expand internationally? How did you know you were ready? Look, when we started the business back in '92, we saw that the industry was disorganised globally. Right. So the globe was our opportunity. Back 10 years ago, when the global financial crisis was sweeping across the world, we actually had done a year of preparation, protected our IP and our domain in 15 different countries, mainly hot, rich countries, because they have swimming pools. And we actually exhibited in the Paris and the Washington Franchise Show in 2007, 2008. Saw what was happening with the world economy and packed our bags and went home. But we kept watching the US economy. That was our next market. It's a market, pool-wise, it's about 6 times bigger than Australia. And it was time, 4 years ago, we went looking for a business to buy here as our entry point to groom and fine-tune our model to make sure it suited the US market. So, it was always in our radar to come here next. And, that's great. Poolwerx, John, has had a number of accolades, over the years. You've won, numerous awards. What is all that attributed to? And congratulations by all those accolades, by the way. I think they're fantastic. But, what do you think they're attributed to? Yeah, look, yes, we've won of the 1,400 brands in Australia. We've won Best System twice. Our franchisees have won Best Franchisees 3 times out of 85,000.
And Entrepreneur magazine this year actually ranked us about 130 in the world.
That's
or something
great.
or other, which was a big surprise to us. But look, we have 5 corporate KPIs that we hold dear, but the number one, the most important of those, is increasing our franchise partner, we call them franchisees, average profit, EBITDA, EBITDA plus owners, increasing average franchise profit every year. Now, not too many franchise systems talk about that, and not too many make it as their number one KPI. We announce it to the group at the start of the year, we report on it at the end of the year, and we bonus our entire support team on achieving that. So, if your franchise partners are making money and increasing profit every year, then the value of their business is going up, and problems seem to go away. That's the main thing that's worked for us. So, it's probably, to be honest, there's 2 things. There's that, and there's our culture, our values. We have 5 values, and they seem to fix every problem we ever have, and every time we've got a problem, it's because we strayed from our values. So they keep us true.
That's terrific. How do you typically describe the concept of the franchise concept, John? I mean, if you were, at a franchise show and, someone came up to your booth and the typical question is, so what do you guys do? How do you typically respond?
Yeah, look, we're not in the pool construction business. We're in the pool aftermarket. So our franchise partners typically have what's called a hub and spoke. They typically have a retail store, and they operate service trucks out of the store. So they cater for the do-it-yourself and the do-it-for-me pool owner. And there's 5 levels to our business. Our franchise partners are in retail, they're in service, they're in maintenance, they're in hot tub sales, and they're in renovation and remodel of pools, but we don't build them. So there's 5 avenues to generate income and to make profit, and importantly, you're capturing clients poolside and over the counter. So there's a lot of opportunity.
That's great. Safety is important too, isn't it, John? I've seen a lot of statistics, over the last couple of years that were, kind of alarming. Is that, I guess, they could be dangerous too at times, right? And I've actually seen you make some presentations on YouTube, talking about this topic. But I mean, safety is really important to you guys too, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's huge for us. You see some organisations who have their cause marketing, and you can't quite see the connection between the brand and what they're supporting. But we go into literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of backyards in Australia, New Zealand, and across 7 states of the US every year, and sadly, the biggest cause of toddler death in the US and Australia under 5 is drowning. So we've been working for a long time with organisations across the globe to help parent awareness to educate their children to swim, and the best cure for drowning is to teach your kids to swim early, and we've had enormous success with it.
Right. That's something. There's so many franchises, in the world today, John. Why would a prospective franchise owner be drawn to, Poolwerx franchise opportunity as opposed to, the maybe 5,000 other opportunities out there in the globe?
Well, it is hard to. Well, at the end of the day, you wake up at 45 in corporate America and you just tell your wife you don't want to work for the man anymore, you want to work for yourself. Right. So you go searching on the web for all those thousands of opportunities, and pretty soon you work out that you don't want to be in food, or you don't want to work under cars, and all of a sudden, you say, hang on, there's a pool franchise. You do a little bit of homework, and you work out that there's only it's a massive industry. In the US, it's increasing dramatically every year. Americans are in love with entertaining in their backyards with friends and family. It's a fun industry. We're not selling pizzas to drunks at midnight or fixing mufflers. We're helping people enjoy their backyards and their families and making memories by the pool. And there's very little competition in the sector, organised competition. There's literally only about 3 or 4 franchise brands in the US in this industry. It's almost like the industry franchising forgot, and it's that opportunity to get in on the bottom floor. It's not a crowded market. It's mostly, there's 8,000 pool shops in America, and 7,000 of them are ma and pa independents, and they simply can't compete like franchising can.
That's true. That's a great point. What do you look for in your prospective franchisees, John? I know you meet with a lot of them. When you're sitting down with them, you're speaking with them. What do you typically look for? What types of characteristics are you looking for in your franchise partners?
Look, we do all sorts of personality profiling of all of our franchise partners over many years. So you can imagine we've got it down pretty tight as to what works and what doesn't work, and indeed, we profile every incoming applicant. But to be honest, of the 90 different characteristics we look at, there's 3 that jump out. The most important of those is your achievement drive, because at the end of the day, the franchise system and brand will get you 60% of the way there, so says the research, but your guts and determination will get you the other 40%. So it's your drive. The other 2 are you can't be in business unless you're a people person, so your social skills. Sure. And the third and final one, because most of our franchise partners have stores and vans or multi-stores, they can have teams of 20, 30, 50 people. Leadership is very important. So those 3, achievement, social skills, and leadership.
That's terrific. The training must be interesting for your new franchisees, John. How does that work? I guess for your U.S. franchisees, of course, it sounds like they'll come to Texas. And what does that include?
When we started off in the U.S. 3.5 years ago, we used to fly them to Australia for their 3 weeks residential training. For most people, they thought that was pretty cool, They get a holiday too. But
of course.
No, look, we've actually built, franchising is all about training and never-ending training, just keeping ahead of the curve, being the best of the best. And there's 3 main areas of our business. There's retail training, there's technical training, and there's back-of-house training. So we're big believers in that. Here in Dallas, we've built the biggest and best training facility in the pool industry in North America. We have a retail store inside our training facility, an academy, and we have a whole technical training area with in-ground swimming pools above ground, so you can walk around them 360, bristling with the latest technology. And we run a 3-week residential program for new franchise partners. And then all year round, we're running retail, technical, and back-of-house training, residential training for our franchise partners' staff here in Dallas.
Right. That's terrific. Where do you see Poolwerx, John? If you could look into a crystal ball, over the next 5-10 years, where do you see the organization?
Well, it's not so much a crystal ball for us because we actually have a 10-year rolling business plan, and I have since day one, and we rarely miss that. But here in the US, as I said earlier, there's 8,000 pool shops, 7,000 are independent. There's only about 3 or 4 of us franchising. Most of those ma and pa simply can't compete with the things franchising offers, supply, marketing, training, all those sorts of things. So a lot of those, or most of those 7,000 ma and pa independents are reaching retirement age and need to sell their business. It's difficult to sell an independent pool store to an independent person, but it's much easier for them to convert and then to sell their business as part of the brand. So a lot of the businesses that have been joining us over the last 3-odd years in America are exactly that. They're ma and pa's looking to sell, convert to Poolwerx, and then we've got an up-and-going, sometimes 20, 30-year-old business that we reformat into the Poolwerx brand and system to sell to incoming franchise partners. So, we've opened 30 stores in the last 30 months. We have over 200 vans in the US, in 7 states across the Sun Belt. We're just opening in the Northeast, and it will get to 300 pretty quick. I'd be surprised if we're not doubled in the next 9 months, and then beyond.
You've been doing this for quite some time now, John. So when I have someone on the show like yourself, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to, buy a franchise, particularly like in the service industry? Because as I was saying earlier, there's a lot out there, and the majority of our listeners, they're pretty much new to franchising. If you remember, like when you first began and you started researching franchising, that's kind of like in the phase that they're at. What advice would you give to our listeners then?
Yeah, look, not so much advice, but The things that I went looking for when I started this business 25 years ago, I went around the globe with a handful of criteria I was looking for my next venture. And they probably still hold true today, whether it's me or anybody. And they were these. I went looking for a large established industry. I didn't want to create awareness. That's costs too much money and takes too much time. I wanted a growing business. I didn't want a dying business, a growing industry, not a dying industry. I wanted an industry that wasn't just retail, but had retail and I didn't want it to just have service either. I wanted to have retail and service, what we call hub and spoke. Retail's a hub, spoke's a service, do it yourself, do it for me. But you can get locked into the four walls of your lease and it's hard to market outside of them. But if you've got both sides, you're catering to a broader part of the market. High gross profit margins. Business is too hard to operate on skinny margins. And repeat business. What service offers is repeat. And the beauty of repeat business is that you don't just look at the one time, but the lifetime value of a client. So, with us, lifetime survival of a client is over 7 years. Lifetime value of a client is over $12,000. So when you look at that, what you can spend on marketing to get that client is enormous. So all of those things added up. If you can find all of those things in a still disorganised industry or one that doesn't have much franchising, then you don't have a lot of competitiveness and you've got competitive advantage. So there's some of the things I looked at, and I think they're still current today.
That's great. So you had a very clear picture going in, John. I mean, you knew exactly what you were looking for, which I think is fantastic. I find, in doing the show as long as I've been doing it, sometimes, I think people, they don't have that clear picture. And I think as you were saying, you probably wrote this down and you said, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and, we've mentioned that on the show from time to time, is we always say, look towards the industry. I think a lot of times entrepreneurs, you could verify this for me, is sometimes they think it's about them. It's about their traits and characteristics, and they can make any industry work. But that's not always true, is it? I mean, it's really about getting involved in an industry, like you said, that has growth, with also those high profit margins. That's really what you should be looking for, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said, too, that it can't be about you. I mean, the moment you believe that your success is about you and what you're looking for is about you, you're already devalued your business. Your business has to survive without you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. What's the best way, John, for our listeners to get more information on Poolwerx as the service and, of course, even more so, the franchise opportunity? Are there any websites that you'd like them to go to check out where they can get more information?
Yeah, look, just go to our fabulous website. We spent a lot of money over the last 2 years creating what we believe is the best website in the pool industry worldwide. So just Poolwerx. It's
a great website.
Pool. Yeah, thanks, mate. It's just Pool, P-O-O-L, Works, W-E-R-X, WERX.com. And whether somebody wants some help with their pool or whether they want to consider their career opportunities, our franchise development team are very practical, very friendly, very hands-on. After some initial discussions, we'll either come and meet you, but we always bring you here as our guest on our dime for an evening with me. We go and have dinner with myself and my wife. Culture is very important to us. We see ourselves as a family of small business families, and then we have a full discovery day, all as our guest.
That's fantastic. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you today, John, and I would really like to invite you back as you continue to grow because, again, I haven't interviewed a lot of, really people in your industry. This is probably, I guess I can almost say the first out of doing the show almost 12 years now, so it's a privilege for me to finally get to speak to you on the show today. And again, I'd like to invite you back as you continue to grow.
Well, Marty, you have a great reputation too, so thank you very much for having me on the show, and it was a pleasure and love to any time.
Thank you so much for saying that, John. It was a privilege to talk to you, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Today's Great Quote in Franchising is being brought to you by
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. Today you're going to get to hear from Sam Hance, who is the president of Stone Coat, and one of the questions we asked Sam when we had him on the show was, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? And Sam talked about the importance of doing a self-evaluation and asking yourself important questions like, what do you like to do? Because in franchising, experience can be taught. So let's listen to what Sam had to say.
Probably one of the most qualified people to answer the question, studying your background, Sam, is what advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring franchipreneurs. You know, most of them are looking to buy a franchise, but as you know, I mean, there's so much out there today. We find that a lot of them just simply don't know where to begin, and it becomes a bit overwhelming. So what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
Now, Marty, you're touching something that is dear to my heart right now, because this is the part of business that I love, is helping people find their right fit. And that's the primary thing that I tell people. Your starting point is to do a self-evaluation and come up with the things that you like to do. If you are not a hands-on person, don't get into the lawn maintenance business.
Right.
If you like being outside, there's all kinds of businesses to look at outside. If you're more of a analytical bookkeeping type person, there's franchises there. If you have love food, then food offers great opportunities. Right. So that's the first thing I tell people is really decide what you want to do, what you like to do, not necessarily what you have experience at, because in the franchising world, experience can be taught. So that's the first starting point. Second thing I tell people is figure out your resources and don't overextend. The Chamber of Commerce, National Chamber of Commerce, says that the number one reason for business failures in the United States is undercapitalization. So you've got to know your resources and don't overextend it. Talk to the people that are most important to you and get their input. And I always tell people, give your loved ones permission to hurt your feelings if that's what it takes, so they can be brutally honest about what they see in you. Then when you get to the company, research the owners first. Know who the owners are. Go visit them. Make sure that their goals and ambitions align with what you really are looking for. And character is important. It's extremely important. Yeah. And then the second thing you want to research is the industry. Is it a good, stable industry? And instead of some fad that could come and go. And then the third thing is research the franchise model. Most people get that a little out of order because the first thing they want to do is research the franchise model. And I tell them, no, back up and go look at the owners and then look at the industry. And then thirdly is look at that. And finally, franchising is not selling. Franchising is finding good fits and good matches for life ambitions between the franchisee and the franchisor. And if anybody is pushing you or pressuring you to purchase a franchise, then you need to run away from that as fast as you can. The people on the other side of the table from the prospective franchisee should be just as anxious to get involved in understanding what both sides are looking for.
Wow, it's a great answer. We've been doing the show 10 years, and I have to say that's one of the best responses we've had in almost 500 shows. So I could tell you've been doing this a long time.
Thank you.
It just included everything. It's just a great response. So what are the plans then, Sam? I mean, I can ask you as the president of the organization. I mean, where do you see Stone Coat maybe like 3 to 5 years down the road?
Well,
if you'd like to hear that whole interview with Sam Hance of Stone Coat, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, go to our franchises by category page, and go to our home repair and improvement category. You can hear that whole interview. And Sam had a lot of great advice during that particular show. And finally, we just want to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big success. It's hard to imagine now that we've been doing the show almost 10 years now and approaching 500 shows. So we just want to thank everyone for all their support. And we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
At Founders Brewing Company, we set out to create a beer that lets you embrace the unconventional. Mortal Bloom is a radiantly beautiful hazy IPA that will wrap your taste buds with intense citrus and tropical notes of pineapple and mango. Coming in at 6.2% ABV with aromatics and no bitterness, it's the perfect beer, if we do say so ourselves. Visit foundersbrewing.com to find Mortal Bloom Hazy IPA.